The God Slayer's return. Captain Sarah Chen stood before the massive blast doors of Storage Bay 7, her reflection staring back from the polished titanium surface. 5 years had passed since the Divine War ended. 5 years since humanity had done the impossible and killed beings that called themselves gods. The Nexari Empire had ruled 17 star systems for over a millennium, their energy-based forms allowing them to manipulate matter at the molecular level. Entire civilizations had worshipped them, built temples in their honor, and sacrificed millions to appease their cosmic appetites. Then humanity arrived with their god-killer weapons. The blast doors hissed open, revealing rows upon rows of deactivated artillery pieces. Each cannon was the size of a small building, their quantum disruption cores now cold and silent. These weapons had torn apart beings of pure energy, scattered consciousness that had existed for thousands of years, and reduced gods to nothing more than dissipating light. Still gives you chills, doesn't it? Admiral Torres approached from behind, her footsteps echoing in the cavernous storage bay. She was a small woman with silver hair and eyes that had seen too much war. Hard to believe we actually won. Chen nodded, running her hand along the barrel of the nearest weapon. The metal was still warm to the touch, as if the power within hadn't fully died. Sometimes I wonder if we should have stopped after the first one. The first god we killed. The first weapon we built. Chen turned away from the artillery. These things changed us, Admiral. We went from being explorers to being predators. Torres was quiet for a moment, then activated her comm unit. Captain, we have a situation. Priority 1 transmission from the Kepler sector. The hologram that appeared showed a figure Chen recognized as Zara 9, a diplomat from the Helix Coalition. The alien's crystalline features were fractured with stress lines, her usual blue glow flickering to orange with distress. Captain Chen. Zara 9's voice carried the harmonic undertones of her species. We need your expertise. 3 of our mining colonies have been attacked. The weapon signatures. They match your god-killer technology. Chen felt her blood turn cold. That's impossible. All god-killer weapons are accounted for and deactivated. The evidence suggests otherwise. The attacks were surgical, precise. Someone who understands the technology intimately is using it against civilian populations. Zara 9's image flickered as the transmission weakened. Captain, the Coalition Council is beginning to question the peace treaty. Some members believe humanity is preparing for another war. How many casualties? Admiral Torres stepped forward. Over 3,000 across all 3 colonies. But that's not the worst part. Zara 9's glow shifted to deep red. The survivors report seeing human soldiers, but changed somehow. Enhanced. They move faster than any human should be able to move, and they seem to know our weaknesses before we did. The transmission ended, leaving Chen and Torres staring at the empty hologram projector. This is bad, Torres muttered. If the Coalition believes we're behind these attacks, we'll have another war on our hands, Chen finished. But worse than the Divine War. This time, we'll be fighting species that were our allies. Chen's comm unit buzzed with an incoming message. The sender was listed as unknown, but when she opened it, she recognized the handwriting immediately. Her blood turned to ice. Sarah, the message read, I know you're reading this. The God Killer program was just the beginning. Come to Kepler 442 bits if you want to understand what humanity really is. Come alone, or I'll show the galaxy what we learned from killing gods. MV. Torres read over her shoulder. MV. Who's that? Dr. Marcus Vale, Chen whispered. He was supposed to be dead. She remembered Marcus Vale from the early days of the God Killer Project, a brilliant scientist with theories that made even hardened military officers uncomfortable. He had proposed using the same quantum disruption technology on living beings, creating weapons that could scatter organic matter at the cellular level. Chen had blocked his research, forcing him to transfer to deep space reconnaissance. He had been reported killed in action 3 years ago, when his research ship disappeared near the Void Nebula. "Man," Torres said carefully, "if Dr. Vale is alive and has access to God-killer technology, he could destabilize the entire galaxy." Chen pulled up a star chart on her tablet. "Kepler 442 bits is in contested space, 3 days from here. If I take the stealth cruiser Phoenix, I can get there without attracting attention." "Absolutely not. If this is a trap, then it's a trap I have to spring." Chen looked back at the rows of deactivated weapons. "Admiral, these god-killers were my design. If someone is perverting that technology, it's my responsibility to stop them." 2 days later, Chen's ship dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler 442 bits. The mining world hung in space like a scared brown marble, its surface pockmarked with excavation sites. What caught Chen's attention immediately was the complete lack of communication signals. A mining operation this size should have been buzzing with activity. "Phoenix to mining control, please respond," she transmitted. Silence. Chen suited up and took a shuttle down to the primary mining facility. The landing pad was intact, but covered with a fine layer of dust that hadn't been there during regular operations. The facility's main doors were sealed, but not damaged. Inside, she found the first sign of what had happened. The miners were alive, but changed. They sat in perfect rows in the facility's main cafeteria, their eyes staring straight ahead with an unnatural focus. When Chen approached the nearest one, he turned to look at her with movements that were too smooth, too precise. "Dr. Vale is waiting for you in Laboratory 7. The miner said in a voice completely devoid of emotion. "He says to tell you that evolution cannot be stopped." Chen felt her skin crawl. The miner's eyes were different somehow, the pupils too dilated, the iris showing flecks of silver that hadn't been there naturally. "What did he do to you?" "He showed us what we really are," the miner replied. "Predators. Apex predators. The gods were just the first prey." Chen left the cafeteria and made her way deeper into the facility. Laboratory 7 was in the research section, a place that should have been abandoned when the mining operation began. But as she approached, she could hear the hum of active equipment. The laboratory doors slid open before she could reach for the controls. "Sarah." Dr. Marcus Vale stood with his arms spread wide in greeting. He looked exactly as she remembered him. Tall, thin, with brown hair and intelligent eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. But something was different about the way he moved, the way he held himself. There was a predatory grace that hadn't been there before. "Marcus." Chen kept her hand near her sidearm. "We thought you were dead." "I was, in a way." Vale gestured around the laboratory. The walls were covered with screens showing DNA sequences, neural pathway maps, and what looked like surgical procedures. "The old Marcus Vale died when I realized what we had really accomplished with the God-Killer project. We ended a war. We proved that humans are the galaxy's apex predators." Vale moved closer, and Chen noticed that his footsteps made no sound. "Do you know what separates predators from prey, Sarah? Prey animals run in herds, they follow leaders, they make decisions based on emotion. Predators are solitary, calculating, and they understand their prey better than the prey understands itself." Chen looked around the laboratory more carefully. In the corner, she saw a row of surgical beds with restraints. On the tables were alien beings of various species, all unconscious but clearly alive. "What are you doing to them?" "Learning." Vale activated a holographic display showing the internal anatomy of several different alien species. "The coalition species all have weaknesses, Sarah. Physiological, psychological, genetic. I've been mapping them, understanding them. And then I've been sharing that knowledge. With the enhanced miners. With the evolved humans." Vale's smile was completely genuine, which somehow made it more disturbing. "I've been taking volunteers from mining colonies, research stations, frontier worlds. Humans who were tired of pretending to be civilized. I show them what they really are, and they embrace it." Chen drew her weapon. "Where are the other miners?" The ones who didn't volunteer. Safe, Vale said, seemingly unconcerned about the gun pointed at him. I'm not a monster, Sarah. I don't force evolution on anyone. But once people see the truth, most of them choose to embrace it. And if they don't, then they remain prey. Vale pressed a button on his control panel. The laboratory's windows dimmed, revealing the mining facility's main courtyard outside. Chen could see dozens of figures moving through the shadows with inhuman speed and coordination. The galaxy is about to change, Sarah. Humanity's brief experiment with cooperation is ending. We're remembering what we really are. You're talking about genocide. You're talking about genocide. I'm talking about natural selection. Vale's expression grew serious. The Divine War proved that humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. We killed beings that had existed for millennia, beings that entire civilizations considered invincible. And we did it not because we were stronger, but because we were smarter, more ruthless, more willing to do whatever it takes to survive. Chen kept her weapon trained on Vale, but she could see movement in her peripheral vision. The enhanced miners were entering the laboratory, surrounding her with the same predatory grace that Vale displayed. You have a choice, Sarah, Vale continued. You can join the evolution, help guide humanity into its next phase, or you can remain prey and watch as the galaxy learns to fear us the way it should have all along. And if I choose option 3, Vale tilted his head, which is stopping you. Chen's finger tightened on the trigger. Vale smiled. You always were my favorite student, but you're about to learn the difference between building weapons to kill gods and being willing to use them. The enhanced miners moved as one, faster than Chen had ever seen humans move. She fired her weapon, but they flowed around the energy blasts like water. One of them reached her before she could fire a second shot, grasping her wrist with strength that felt like a mechanical vice. Don't hurt her, Vale said calmly. Sarah needs to see the full demonstration before she makes her choice. Chen struggled against the miner's grip, but it was like trying to move solid steel. What demonstration? Vale activated another hologram, this one showing a star map of the local sector. Red dots marked dozens of colony worlds, research stations, and trading posts. In 72 hours, every red dot on this map will receive a gift from humanity, a reminder of what we're capable of when we stop pretending to be civilized. You're planning to attack all of them. I'm planning to educate them. Vale's eyes gleamed with an intensity that made Chen's stomach turn. The Coalition needs to understand that the peace treaty exists because we allow it to exist, that their safety depends on our restraint, and that restraint has limits. The miner released Chen's wrist, but she could feel others positioned around her, ready to move if she tried anything aggressive. 72 hours, Sarah, Vale repeated. Use that time to think about what you want humanity's future to look like. Sheep pretending to be wolves, or wolves finally admitting what they are. Vale walked toward the laboratory's exit, pausing at the doorway. Oh, and Sarah, if you try to warn the Coalition, I'll move up the timeline. The attacks will begin immediately, and they'll be much worse than what I had originally planned. The door slid shut behind him, leaving Chen alone with the enhanced miners. They watched her with eyes that were no longer quite human, and she realized that Marcus Vale was right about one thing. The galaxy was about to change. The Apex Predator Protocol. Chen sat in the mining facility's detention cell, her mind racing through possible solutions. Vale had left her with a guard rotation of enhanced miners, but they weren't paying close attention. They seemed confident that she couldn't escape, and they were probably right. The modifications Vale had made to them weren't just psychological. They moved faster, reacted quicker, and seemed to anticipate her movements before she made them. But Chen had spent 5 years studying alien technology, and she noticed something the enhanced miners didn't. The facility's power grid was designed for multiple species, including the Kexin, who required specific electromagnetic frequencies to operate their equipment. If she could access the environmental controls, she waited until the guard rotation changed, then carefully reached for the wall panel beside her cot. The Kexin interface required a specific touch pattern, but Chen had memorized it during a joint research project 2 years earlier. The panel came alive under her fingers, displaying power distribution throughout the facility. What she found made her blood run cold. The facility wasn't just a laboratory, it was a production center. The power readings showed massive energy consumption in areas that should have been empty mining tunnels. Chen traced the power flow and realized Vela was running some kind of manufacturing operation beneath the facility. Manufacturing what? She managed to access the facility's internal monitoring system and found her answer. Deep underground, automated assembly lines were producing weapons. Not just any weapons, God-killer technology adapted for use against organic beings. Quantum disruptors sized for personal use, reality anchors that could prevent alien defensive abilities, and something new that made Chen's stomach drop. Viral enhancement pods. The manufacturing data showed that Vela was producing thousands of enhancement units designed to modify human physiology. Not just the miners on this world, but equipment that could be shipped anywhere in human space. He wasn't just creating a small army of enhanced soldiers, he was preparing to transform the entire human population. Chen heard footsteps in the corridor and quickly shut down the panel. One of the enhanced miners appeared at her cell door, his movement completely silent despite his heavy boots. "Dr. Vale wants to see you," the miner said in that same emotionless tone they all used. "He says it's time for the final demonstration." They escorted her through corridors she hadn't seen before, deeper into the facility's underground levels. Here, the walls were lined with observation windows, showing laboratory spaces filled with alien subjects. Chen counted at least 50 different species, all unconscious on examination tables. Impressive, isn't it? Vale appeared beside her without making a sound. Chen was starting to understand that the enhanced human silent movement wasn't just training. It was a physical modification that eliminated the normal sounds of human locomotion. "You're experimenting on sentient beings. I'm learning from them." Vale gestured to the nearest window, where a Helix Coalition diplomat similar to Zera 9 lay unconscious on a table. "Did you know that Helix beings can be paralyzed by disrupting their crystalline matrix at a specific frequency? Or that Kexin neural networks can be overloaded with focused electromagnetic pulses?" Chen realized what she was seeing. "You're developing species-specific weapons." "I'm identifying weaknesses," Vale corrected. "Every species in the Coalition has evolved defenses against conventional threats, but they've never faced predators who study them first." He led her to a central observation deck that overlooked the entire underground complex. From here, Chen could see the full scope of Vale's operation. Assembly lines producing weapons, enhancement pods operating on human volunteers, and what looked like a communications center with quantum transmitters powerful enough to reach across the galaxy. 57 hours, Vale said, checking a chronometer on his wrist. That's how long until the first wave of enhanced humans reaches their target destinations. They've been traveling for weeks now, infiltrating Coalition worlds as miners, researchers, traders, tourists. Normal humans who'll undergo their final enhancement once they reach their positions. How many? Enough. Vale's smile was that same disturbing combination of genuine warmth and predatory calculation. "Sarah, I want you to understand something. I'm not doing this because I hate aliens. I'm doing it because I love humanity. You're talking about starting a war that could destroy both sides. I'm talking about ending a war that never really ended." Vale activated a holographic display showing population statistics for human and Coalition space. Humans make up less than 3% of the galaxy's sentient population. We're outnumbered hundreds to one. The only reason the Coalition tolerates us is because they're afraid of our God-killer technology. Chen studied the display. "So you want to make them more afraid?" "I want to make fear irrelevant." Vale manipulated the hologram, showing projected population changes over the next century. Right now, human expansion is limited by Coalition territorial agreements. We get a handful of star systems while they control thousands. But what happens when the enhanced humans start reproducing? When the modifications become hereditary? The projection showed human population curves rising exponentially, while coalition populations remained static or declined. Within 2 centuries, humans would outnumber every other species in the galaxy. Genetic conquest, Chen whispered. Evolution, Vale corrected. The coalition species have reached evolutionary plateaus. They're stable, predictable, and ultimately static. Humans are still changing, still adapting. The enhancements I've developed aren't just improvements. They're the next step in human evolution. Chen looked back at the laboratory windows. And the alien subjects will be released once I've learned what I need to know. I told you, Sarah, I'm not a monster. I don't kill unnecessarily. Vale's expression grew more serious. But I will do whatever it takes to ensure humanity's survival. And right now, that means teaching the galaxy to respect us. By terrorizing them. By demonstrating our capabilities. Vale led her to another observation window, this one showing a training facility where enhanced humans were practicing combat techniques. Chen watched in fascination and horror as they moved through obstacle courses designed to simulate alien environments. They were faster than unmodified humans, stronger, and they seemed to anticipate each obstacle before encountering it. The modifications affect more than just physical capabilities, Vale explained. Enhanced pattern recognition, improved tactical thinking, and what you might call predatory intuition. They can assess threats and opportunities faster than baseline humans. One of the enhanced humans in the training facility noticed Chen watching and turned to stare directly at her through the observation window. For a moment, she felt like prey being evaluated by a predator. 56 hours, Vale said softly. That's how long you have to decide, Sarah. Join the evolution, or watch it happen without you. Chen turned away from the training facility. What about the miners who didn't volunteer for enhancement? They're safe in the upper levels. After the demonstration, they'll be given the same choice everyone else gets. Vale's voice carried a note of what might have been genuine regret. I know this is difficult, Sarah. You spent years trying to make humans fit in with the galactic community. But we were never meant to fit in. We were meant to stand out. By becoming predators. By becoming what we already are. Vale activated his comm unit, and Chen could hear transmissions from across the galaxy. Reports of enhanced humans reaching their target destinations, of equipment being moved into position, of the first phase of his plan nearing completion. The coalition will fight back, Chen said. With what? Vale brought up another display, this one showing coalition military assets. Their fleets are designed to fight conventional threats. Their soldiers are trained for traditional warfare. They've never faced an enemy that understands their weaknesses better than they do. Chen realized that Vale was right about one thing. He wasn't crazy. Everything he was doing followed a logical progression from the premise that humanity needed to dominate rather than cooperate. The terrifying part was that his plan might actually work. There is another option, she said carefully. Vale raised an eyebrow. Which is? Demonstration without devastation. Chen gestured to the manufacturing areas. You've proven that human enhancement is possible. You've identified alien weaknesses. You could achieve the same result by revealing this information publicly rather than through attacks. And give the coalition time to develop countermeasures. Vale shook his head. Sarah, the only way to change the galactic balance of power is through decisive action. Half measures lead to half victories. Chen's comm unit buzzed with an incoming transmission. Vale nodded permission for her to answer it. Admiral Torres appeared in hologram form, her expression grim. Captain, we've lost contact with 3 more colonies. The coalition is mobilizing their defense fleets, and some of the member species are calling for preemptive action against human worlds. Admiral, Chen began. Ma'am, Torres continued, I need to know your status. If you found Dr. Vale. Vale stepped into view of the hologram projector. Hello, Admiral. I'm Dr. Marcus Vale. I believe Captain Chen has told you about me. Torres reached for her sidearm before realizing she was talking to a hologram. Dr. Vale, you're under arrest for crimes against sentient beings and violations of the Coalition Peace Treaty. I'm afraid I have to decline your invitation, Vale said pleasantly. But I do have a message for Coalition Command. In 54 hours, they will receive a comprehensive demonstration of humanity's true capabilities. I suggest they use that time to consider their response carefully. He cut the transmission before Torres could reply. Now they know, Chen said. Now they have a choice, Vale corrected. They can accept that humanity's role in the galaxy has changed, or they can try to stop what's already in motion. Chen looked around the underground facility one more time. Hundreds of enhanced humans, thousands of weapons designed to exploit alien weaknesses, and a plan that could reshape the balance of power across the galaxy. Vale was right about one thing. It was probably too late to stop. But maybe it wasn't too late to change direction. Marcus, she said carefully, what if there was a way to achieve your goals without starting a war? Vale studied her with those predator eyes. I'm listening. What if instead of attacking Coalition worlds, you demonstrated human capabilities by protecting them? Vale was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, and for the first time since she'd found him, it looked genuinely human. Sarah, he said, I think you're beginning to understand what we really are. The chronometer on his wrist showed 53 hours and counting. Whatever happened next, Chen realized, the galaxy would never be the same, and perhaps that was exactly what humanity needed.